Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is a beginner's guide, quick tips and tricks video on how to get further into Mechabellum, how to succeed and win a couple of games. So I'm actually going to start the tips and tricks right here. It's worth noting, first of all, that you're always going to be given 4 cards. This is your opening hand, quote unquote, in order to play the auto battler. Now, in this case, I've been given the cost control specialist, supply specialist, giant spec, and the quick supply spec. All of these cards have a range of HP, meaning that the supply specialist could range from 3,900 to 4,100 HP. So when you see a card that you like, know that it has a health range. I know that the supply specialist at 4,100 is actually 100 points higher than I normally see him. I normally see him at around 4,000 HP. So this is very interesting to me that he rolled high. The next thing I'm going to look at after HP is the actual specs themselves. Some are stronger, some are weaker. You might have your personal preferences. I tend to go for a longer game, so I tend to like these 2 cards, but the giant spec is also quite good. And then finally, I look at the actual units. Now, the units are probably the most important part of the card because you want to have a very good spread of units when you first start the game. What do I mean by spread? You want units that can deal with chaff and small horde-like units, like the Arclight, who does very well against multiple entity units like a Mustang, Fang, Crawlers, so on and so forth, and Phoenix, who are single-point damage specialists who do very well against things like steel balls, tanks, giant units, so on and so forth. So I'm trying to pick up a good set of units that can deal damage to multiple types of units, as well as hopefully shoot both up and down. I want to have at least one unit that can shoot the air and one unit that can deal with a lot of units on the ground. Next, I'm looking for compatibility. So in this case, the steel ball and the crawlers, I know from personal experience, and you can check this in the testing grounds, that they move at the same speed. And you can check those unit stats when you're in game, but if this is your first time running, just know that units that look like they move fast, like steel balls, who are just giant balls, normally move at around 16 to 18 meters per second. Whereas something like a sledgehammer, which is just a basic tank, is pretty darn slow. So keep that in mind as you're playing the game. You want to be able to have units that enter combat at near the same time or have a good spread of units. It's okay to have a couple of fast units, a couple of slow units. So in this case, I'm thinking to myself, well, I have some units that shoot up and down. I have some good single point units, and this has a lot of HP. I'm going to grab the supply spec because he also rolled high on his health. Great. Now I am playing against the bot here. He's just on normal because I wanted to not really worry about the game too much. So this is your battlefield, right? Easy peasy. Everybody understands what's going on here. I can unlock more units over here to the right, and being a supply specialist, I enter the game with extra cash. If you ever want to see the rounds, you can check it here, how many squads you have, and the devices that you have. In this case, you always spawn with 700 points worth of units. There are some specialists, like the marksman specialist, who will actually spawn with more units on the field than the standard $700. Just to confirm, Fang are 100, 100, 100 for a total of 300, and then steel balls come in at $200 a piece for 400. That's $700 worth of money. So I'm just going to put these guys out. You do have this recommended formation button. I'm just going to do something like that. The recommended formations are not bad. They're really not that bad. And I'm going to take a look here at the next stage of the game. So I'm seeing what my enemy has online. He's got 3 units of Arclights and 2 units of Stormcallers. They're going to kill all of my Fang. They're very good units at killing Fang, not so great at killing steel balls, and he went over with the Rhino Specialist. So I'm going to have a little bit of extra cash for a while until round 3 when he comes in. On the first round of the game, these flanks are not allowed to have units placed on them, but I would highly recommend that you start utilizing those flanks as the game continues. So he has a lot of single point damage, and he has a good amount of AoE, but right now he doesn't have anything that shoots up. So I could choose to either get 2 more units of chaff, I could choose to get a unit of wasps, or anything here that unlocks for $50. I'm not too worried about it. I'm just going to grab a unit of Phoenix just to have them. I think they're quite good units. And also I'm hoping to catch the enemy out in this early game because then I can force a transition. So let's let this roll and just kind of see what happens. Okay, so he ended up grabbing some Fang. That is actually quite bad for me just because these Fang will be able to shoot up. So a good pickup by him. Luckily my Fang are engaging at just the right time. Now what I'm looking for during combat is to see where my strong sides are and my weak sides. So it looks like over on the right, I'm actually a little bit weaker than I am on the left. Now there is a small bit of RNG in every battle. These Stormcallers can either be stone cold killers and hit every single shot, or they can be drunk as a skunk and miss everything. So something to be aware of. Just because you win one flank initially doesn't mean you'll win again. Something else worth noting is that the targeting of your units is almost always the same way. Aerial units will shoot at ground units that are the closest to them 99% of the time. Though I have seen it where a wasp or something gets close enough to the Phoenix that it will target them over a ground unit. But just know, in general, aerial units will shoot down before they shoot at other aerial units. So a small win here, fantastic. Let's talk about these cards. When I'm looking at cards, I'm looking at the value over time benefit of the card. So something that's free, that gives immediate value, is always very powerful. Something like this laser sight will be pretty darn good as the game continues, just because having a unit that shoots further is normally very good. The sentry missile, kind of meh. Normally you're using the sentry missile to clear up chaff. And improve melting points. I don't have any melting points on the field, but normally when I'm looking at an improved card, let's say I already have 4 melting points on the field. Getting this is phenomenal, because I probably won't be buying any more melting points, but having them increase their attack and range, forget about it. That's a wonderful card. In this case, I am the supply spec, which is a very powerful card because I can opt to get all of these things. However, understand that skipping isn't just earning $50. You're also not potentially spending $50, which makes it much more powerful. In this case, I am going to pick up the laser sight though. Now, I'm a big proponent of, if it worked, upgrade it. And in this case, my Phoenix did exceedingly well. I can tell that because in this bottom left-hand side, I can see the number of kills that they've gotten, which is my allied top 1, the amount of damage they've done, which is again my top 1, and the amount of total damage, which is again their top 1. So I'm going to pop this laser sight on them. That way they have a ton of range, and I'm going to upgrade them. Next, I'm going to think about what are my weak points, and in this case, it's dealing with these Stormcallers. So I'm going to unlock Crawlers, who do very well against Stormcallers, and I'm going to utilize this flank. Just because right now it doesn't seem like he's protected his flanks at all, but a good word of the wise is to put a couple of units on these flanks initially just to be powerful, to be strong, to be safe. Another thing that I'm going to talk about real quickly is this deployment. Notice how a lot of my units are back. If I were to put a unit of Crawlers right here, they would absorb all this Stormcaller damage, at least the Stormcallers would all miss, and then go into these Fang, and then probably die to these Arclights. What I don't like about doing something like this is where these Crawlers have to live unless they get recycled. Meaning, all my opponent has to do is put an Arclight or any other chaff-killing unit, like a Vulcan, right at the front here, and these Crawlers are forfeit. They're almost never going to be able to survive that. So when you're deploying units, unless you're going for a very aggressive headbutt, I would recommend that you place your units far enough back. That way, any counterplay, you then have space to counter once or twice more. Once you put your unit right on the line, they're out of options. Same with these flanks. The extra 2 seconds it takes for these Crawlers to come in is not really worth the time to have them right up at the front. So I like to put my little Crawler boys right at the back. That way, hey, if I want to commit to the flanks, I can put some tanks. I can put, I don't know, anything. I could put some extra wasps here. Just having these units back a little bit can make a big difference. Also, note that you can switch the way your units look are facing by simply clicking the middle mouse button. That can make a little bit of a difference in some engagements. Next, let's talk about the command center. These are single-use, one-round upgrades. What I mean by that is that these upgrades only last for a single round. You can slow down the video or pause it to actually read all of them. But just know that, hey, this will only last for one round. They normally cost a bit of cash. Your research center, these improvements last the entire game, meaning that the attack upgrade, the defense upgrade, being able to recycle units with the field recovery and mobile beacon, being able to move your units, those will last forever. So it's a very good idea to start unlocking some of these things early on. In this case, I already spent my money. I have a little bit of cash left over, so I'm going to make my guys just be a little bit tougher. Why not? It's a good upgrade. It will last the entire game. Let's go for it. So the AI actually did quite a good thing. It put a arc light here. That arc light is a little bit out of position. He'll kill some Fang and then die. Pretty good. Also went with a lot more Stormcallers, which is exactly what I was hoping for, as Crawlers are a great counter to Stormcallers. Again, this AI is only on normal, so don't expect it to be like the most intelligent thing on the planet. But the flanks went well. They'll take the tower. Destroying a tower, i.e. the command center or the research center, offers a significant debuff. So be aware that killing towers is pretty much ideal. The more towers that you kill, the happier you'll be. I don't really need the extended Phoenix range because my guys already have the laser sight. Do I think this game will last more than 3 rounds? Probably not. So I'm not going to worry about the smoke bomb. These unit cards are very powerful. They can actually swing a game massively in your favor. And you know what? I'll pick it up just to show you how this works. Smoke bomb is actually very strong against things like Stormcallers. So I'm going to pop it down here and be able to move on from there. If it isn't broken, upgrade it. These Crawlers did a phenomenal job. I'd actually like them to come in a little bit earlier, but I'm more worried about this new Rhino I see on the field. So I'm going to grab a couple more units of Phoenixes. I'm going to have them kind of come in at a much harder angle. That way, hopefully, I can get some better flanks off. And then I'm going to spend my extra $100 unlocking this attack upgrade. Right now, I can see this Rhino has deployed because I already knew that he was a Rhino specialist. And note, it's worth checking what your opponent has every single round. So now I know I need to be a little bit more careful about missile devices. It's worth putting missiles in your corners if you don't have defensive units. I did not do so. Instead, the enemy player ended up getting range on his arc and some wasps. A very good play here. Hopefully my little Fang are able to survive this, but it looks like the Crawlers are pretty much unopposed here on the left, and they're going to get in and just deal a lot of damage to these Stormcallers, and we should be good to go. Now I do need to worry about these wasps, because if I ran out of things that shoot ground unit, or I don't have anything on the ground that shoots up, which is a weakness. So, whoopsies. It was just my Alexa going. Alrighty, and that's that. The Phoenix did very well. Let's move on to our next set of tips and tricks. So in this case, I would be very tempted to go for the top supply specialist if I was playing against another human player. And I thought, hey, I'm probably going to lose a round or two at some point, but getting an extra 150 a turn would be pretty powerful. But we also saw the usage of wasps. So I'm actually going to grab up these Mustang because I think that they're going to be incredibly important in dealing with these wasps. And I would like to continue my aggression on the flanks because that's been working very well for me. I'm going to grab the movement increase and the damage reduction on my Crawlers. It is worth noting you can change what upgrades your units have, and I'd highly recommend that you do so just because you're going to want your own playstyle to fit into how you want to play. And I'm going to grab some Mustangs just to scoot down the field, kind of like a so. And I'm putting them here just so that they can help defend against any type of wasp aggression that might come in on the flanks. Upgrade my crawlers. If it isn't broken, don't fix it. And I'm going to grab my first deployable. This sentry missile does 5,000 damage, slows units, and it has a very good center or AoE. So I'm hoping to clear away one of these arc lights before it hurts my Fang too much, as well as deal with a little bit of those Fang. Let's give it a go. Ended up grabbing the steel plating on those arc lights. It will survive for a little while, but here come my Mustang on the flank. It's exactly what I wanted. And that little bit of an increase in the movement speed really helps my crawlers get into those storm callers early. There goes the tower. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. We'll move on. All right, so that last one was a wrap. Now, it's a very good idea that if you're already winning the game, and such degree that I am, that you go for the kill. In this case, I would highly recommend that you would pick up the nuclear option, and you just drop a nuke here. The enemy player, being that they would normally be human, would see that nuke, either pick it up themselves, or have to spend a lot of cash on shielding. So either way, you're getting some value. In this case, I wanted to show off a tactic that I would highly recommend for beginners to take a look at once they have a small understanding of the game. And in this case, it's the quick tech switch. What I mean by that is that I can unlock new units, or in this case, grab a giant unit that I don't think the enemy is prepared for. So in this case, I'm going to unlock a fortress. I'm going to purchase the fortress. Boop, boop. Put them right at the front here to absorb these arc light shots. Then I'm going to spend some cash. Oh, it looks like they did go for the flank. Oh, good for them. That's why you put the Mustangs. I'm going to spend the cash for the rapid resupply. I think this is the last point of the game, and I'm going to upgrade one of these fortresses so that he's more powerful, he can absorb a ton of damage, and I'd like him to kill that arc light pretty much immediately. And I'd like this guy to kind of come down this line here to help draw some fire away from my Fang. Perfect. Now, the game is probably going to end here, but I just wanted to say if you guys liked the video, please like and subscribe, and be ready for a more advanced tips and tricks video later. So actually the AI did something fairly similar in that they grabbed a fortress of their own. Not a bad idea. But do you see how much damage this guy is now tanking for me? Able to clear away the Rhino. This guy was able to easily clear away the left-hand flank. Having a quick tech switch, especially into some giant units that your opponent isn't expecting, or into something like mass Stormcaller of your own, can really make a big difference. Also, if you're interested in knowing more about the units, check out my tier list video. It's a little outdated, just because some patches have come out, but at the new 0.8, I will put out a new video. Blammo. I hope that you all learned something a little bit about the decision-making process. This was aimed more towards beginners, and I will be putting out an advanced tips and tricks video, as well as several different unit compositions, styles, and tactics that you can play in order to be more aggressive, more defensive, or have a more balanced force. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this, and I'll see you soon. Bye.